Okay, so let's give a round of applause for Andrii.
Oh, great. Can you hear me? Yes. Awesome. Yeah, sorry for the delay, and I hope we enjoy time now. Hi, everyone. My name is Andrii. I'm from Kyiv, Ukraine, and I do blogging. I like speak at the conferences, and I'm fall in love in open source. I contribute a lot using my favorite language, Python. Before we dive into competitive programming today, I will share some story. But before I will share some story, please keep in mind that what you can see in next slides are prohibited to use in production. Please do not repeat it. Otherwise, your manager will call me and say, Andrii, please do not show it next time. The core directive of competitive programming, lots of people ask me, what is competitive programming? You can say sometimes sport programming is this. Given well-known computer science problem and solve them as quick as possible. And let's digest the terms one by one. The term well-known computer science problem implies that competitive programming we are dealing with already solved computer science problems and not research problems. At least one person who invented this problem should have solution. And competitive programming usually consists of two main parts. It's design of algorithm or like invent solution, and the second phase is implementation. Design usually require some creativity, some math skills, some knowledge of algorithm, etc. And then when you have right solution on paper, for instance, another tricky thing is just to implement it. And later, today I will show you that implementation also not so easy as you can imagine. And implementation require also good knowledge of your programming language. But lots of people ask me, okay, Andrii, why competitive programming in Python? It really sounds strange. And the answer is, at the moment, yes, there are three popular programming languages for contests. It's C++, Python, and Java. And many people think that C++ is the right choice. But sometimes there are lots of benefits from another languages. For instance, lots of contestants use Python and C++ and Java just on the same contest, like multi-programming languages. For instance, there are good big numbers in Python which you need to implement from scratch in C++. And I built this small chart which show you interesting trend that, for example, in Google Code Jam, it's very famous contest from Google. Number of contestants who use Python is really growing, and you see it's a little bit more than Java. Yeah, still C++ in the top, but we can see the growing. And for instance, in 2017, there are 3,000 participants who solve at least one problem correctly, and there was 16% use Python, and only 8% use Java, which twice more. Okay, and what is the anatomy? And let's start from anatomy of programming contest problem. It's very simple. It's like your requirement when you do your daily job. You have some background story from your manager, you have some hints, and you have input and output and some samples. That's it. It's very easy. And okay, and where we can try your skills if you decided to start. There are two types of contests. It's like offline and online. Offline is mostly for students and more experienced mathematicians, I guess. It's like two conferences. One is Olympiad in Informatics, and it's just 2 rounds of 5 hours contests. And another one is ECPC. It's a little bit different idea. That's when you also have a team, but you have only one computer, compared to IOI, where everybody has his own computer, and you can divide parts of, like, let's say me, I try to solve this problem, my friend another problem, we have different laptops. But in ICPC, we have one laptop. It means like we all together can create a solution on paper, and then when I think I'm done, I need to very quickly implement it and then send. But the most interesting for me, and maybe for you, it's online contests where you can take part anybody from the world. For instance, there are some restrictions. If you work in Google, you can't take part on Google Code Jam. If you work in Facebook, you can't take part in Facebook Hacker Cup, but I think it's not a big deal for us. There are no lots of problems with that. And okay, and maybe you can ask question, okay, how I can be good at competitive programming and why I need it, because it sounds like something which unrelated to your daily job. And I will show you that maybe it's not like you think. And maybe let's start with some tips and tricks which I can show you. First, try to read more books. It maybe sounds strange, but books compared to articles has more rounds of review, and it's published and it's clean, and usually it has more correct information, because I saw lots of articles with issues. Some good books for algorithm. I think you know all these books. My favorite one, I think this by which algorithm design, and also there are lots of books which focus on competitive programming. It's like a couple books, one Skiena, and couple guys who won lots of competitions, create his own books. And by the way, this is free, you can download it, and all other is not free. Okay, next tip is type code faster. Maybe it also sounds strange, but when I work with just my colleagues and see that somebody just go to mouse and try to do what you can do in like 5 or 3 seconds, and you see how slow he type like grandmother, and I think something goes wrong. And this tip is good for everybody. You can go to this website and just test your type speed, and if it's slow, you can improve it. If it's high, cool. Why it's matter for competitive programming? Because sometimes there are simple problem which you can solve just using brute force. You know algorithm, it's clean, and what you need is just to quickly type dirty solution maybe and send it. And we know from history of competitions that lots of people send same correct problems, but one who can type faster without errors, not just stupid typing. It's fast and clean and correct typing. Okay, next tip, use templates and shortcuts. C++ developers use macroses, and if I think everybody know what is C++ macroses? Okay, raise your hand. If not, okay. C++ macros, it's before you compile your program, compiler replace part of the program using macros. It's like, I don't know, something like I do in PyCharm or Vim or Emacs. I just create, because in Python we don't have macroses, and when I need to quick type something, I create macroses like templates. You can do it in any editor, is base feature, and you can use it for just general programming, not for contests. And yeah, you can just type 3 letters and tab, and here we go. You have your some most common, I don't know, read line and put it somewhere. Yeah, and you can create lots of such kind templates, and it will help you not only for contests and for daily job when you, I don't know, need to create some class or inherit or whatever. Okay. Another, I think, one of the most important part of this, it's algorithm analysis. Once you have designed algorithm to solve a problem, you must ask a question like, given a maximum input, can we solve this problem correctly using the time and space and complexity? What does it mean? You know that your solution is like, I will show you a little bit later, let's say O at n, which means you need to do one loop in one direction, and you know the size of the problem like 1 million integers, and you know that like time limit is 3 seconds, and you know that like average modern computer can execute 1 million or maybe 100 million operation per seconds, which mean, okay, we fit in time and no need to send wrong solution, because you will get, if solution is correct but time is off, you will get time limit exception, and yeah, you will not succeed and you will get negative points, which not so good. Okay, how many of you know what is time complexity and maybe hate as me all this mess about this? Can you raise your hand? Oh, cool. Okay, let's do small quiz. And what I try to do usually with my colleagues and me personally, I try to understand it from what I can understand. And the best language for it is just Python. And I will show you a couple tricks how easily to estimate your program. And how do you think, what's the complexity of this small program? Any ideas? Can you please be more louder? Correct. Yeah. Yes. Why? Because it's just one loop from, let's say, 0 to n, which means, I mean, it's not like in math, but it's just roughly what we need. And if our problem, as I said, like n is 1 million, we know how many operations per second, we know time, usually it's like 3 seconds, yeah, and you can fit. Okay, what about this? Can you please be more louder? Correct. Yes, because you can just skip this if n is too big, but it also depends, but in general, yeah, it's O at n. And what about this? Okay, correct. And I know, you're a very smart audience. You can applaud yourself, I think. It was really nice. Okay, let's do more advanced one. What's the complexity of this program? Oh, cool. I think it's like one of the smartest audience I thought. Okay, but I have a more advanced task for you. What about this? Not too many answers, right? Yeah, and our brain is interesting. When brain doesn't know answer, he tries to like predict it. But as my math teacher said, okay, and you should teach your brain to not do so fast decisions. And let's just do step by step. Okay, if function, you remember it, if function gets n, and if it number of calls 1, then if n minus 1, it's 2, etc., and we can see that it's 2 power n, and we can skip minus 1, which ought 2n square n, which easy to do when you do step by step, just function calls. You can see here you put n and you calculate that if n not equals 1, you double recurse execution of each function, and then you do same time on each recursion call, which looks like this. And it's usually easy to do it on paper than on using brain. Okay, but some operations, especially in Python, we don't know, and it's complicated to estimate. For instance, if you need estimation on append or get item from slice, from slice or from list, or you need sort something, and there are a nice wiki page on wikipython.org where there are lots of a huge table with time complexity for different data structures and operations for Python. You can just go, I can't put everything to slide. You can just go and grab the ideas. And if you're more advanced developer, I know you are, you can go to source code. It's usually in CPython, GitHub, and it's mostly in C, but it's easy to get and check that it's true. And just somebody does it for you and put to wiki, and it's easy to grab complexity, but yeah, you can easily go and see, and you can find tons of optimizations, which sometimes complicated to estimate. Okay. Another tip is just identify problem types. Why does it matter? Because if you don't know what kind of problem type, there's a high probability you don't know how to solve it. And maybe you can imagine only, I don't know, brute force or complete search, and it's a good table I get from one of the books which I posted. You can see frequency and category of the problem types compared to ACPC, like I think it's 2008. Yeah, it's very old data, but in any case, we can see distribution with frequency of n types, and yeah, and there are lots of papers which explain in which contest, especially in international Olympiads, which problems we are going to see next year. For instance, next year you can go and see syllabus and see what types of problems. For you, it's interesting because you can first you can learn these types, and you can train skills like when you read, you understand the type, you know the solution, you implement it, it's very fast. But if you read the problem and you read it again, and lots of people already submit solutions, it means you absolutely don't understand what type of problem it. And or you can skip it or try maybe some ideas, but in any case, lots of problems needed to know all these types. Unfortunately, I can't share lots of about, because each type is usually like one book, I don't know, couple books, but yeah, you can grab it from references which I mentioned. Okay, and next, master your programming language. How many of you think how you can master Python programming language? Do you ask question to yourself why you're here? Okay, yeah, join PyCon Balkan. I think it's one of the great places to learn and improve your skills. And yeah, and also read books. I mean, maybe it's a little bit boring, but yeah. And I highly recommended this book. I saw great talk maybe yesterday about patterns and etc. etc. But I highly recommend this Fluent Python. You can find all good data structures and design patterns in Python, which written by a great guy with Luciano from Italy. And yeah, also just read at least once language reference. You can find so many new things for you if you didn't do it in past. I highly recommend. And next tip is practice, practice, practice. It's very practical stuff with competitive programming. You can't just sit and read books, and then you need to take part in competition more often. One problem per day, one problem per week. But you just, if you want to succeed a little bit, yeah, go ahead. And another tip more relate to working with problems. There are some routines with parsing inputs, especially in Python. Usually you do something like it. Usually you have a file or you read data from stdin, and then you calculate some solution and results you put to stdout. In Python you can use it 3 functions, but under the hood is still the same source code. And please don't use print statements for debugging. This tip nice not only for competitive programmers and for developers. And I think, how many of you use prints for debugging? Yeah, raise your hand. Why not? We are like, I think, good audience, and yeah. But please don't use it. Why? I will show you one small trick. Sometimes it's really tricky to use debugger, but my favorite one is IPDB. Highly recommend. But one issue is that when you run like command line programs and read from stdin, console debuggers or whatever UI debuggers also read from stdin commands, and you will get this like syntax error because IPDB thinks that we get some comment from user like next or break or continue, and they don't know what is it. It just crash. And I created small function which do the same like in C++. In C++, lots of people use fopen with trick like and put results in file. If you don't have file, you just use default stdin. It's nice tip because when you create your problem, you prototype, you usually put results to file, debug it, and then when you send solution, you forget to like remove reading from file. You get wrong points, and then I need to like uncomment some line. That's why you can use this universal function, and locally you run it with file, but when you send, it automatically switch to stdin and will work. And I put it to gist. I will share slides. You can, if you want, you can catch it. But you can write it like in less than 2 seconds, I think. Yeah, and with this function, you can see debugger stops before loop, and you can do anything you want. Okay, let's solve couple problems because everything was just lyric. And let's party start. Don't know how many of you enjoy party yesterday, but okay. Just quick second before brain can dig into problem. Okay. Given the word ABC, your program should, by exploring all different combination of 3 letters, output words like ABC and different permutations. And this is a real problem, not from my mind. And interesting that this problem, I had interesting conversation yesterday about programming languages, and usually when somebody create problem, solution can be done in any language. It's true, but some languages are more easily for this problem. For instance, in C++, you can just do one loop and use standard next permutation, and it will do absolutely correct answer. But how can we write this program in Python? Any ideas? Please go more loudly. Don't be afraid.
Wait.
Okay. Yes and no. Like when you use, again, brain is so interesting. Permutation, yeah. I'm the same person. I mean, first I did like, okay, perm in permutations, print. Cool. This is like answer. Then I submitted and failed, and I think, oh, interesting, why it's so? And then, why I suggest to read docs, I go to documents, and I like Python documents. And I read this phrase that elements are treated as unique based on their position, not on their value. What does it mean? It means that if you have two values with different position, like with the same letter A for Python, and it's correct, by the way, it's different permutations. It's absolutely correct. But in C++, they think, oh no, it's not base position, it's just, they use it as a unique set, that's why like answer is a little bit different and correct, but in Python it's incorrect. And yeah, and you can solve it just using like, or skip these values or unique it or whatever. Okay. Next tip is subscribe Python email lists. Why? Because it's very lucky. For instance, one of my, I mean, not my, but just person who lives in Ukraine, he is a very famous CPython core developer. He proposed to add new model. It's just idea, it's not implemented yet. He proposed opinion about adding a couple new functions in new IMAS model, which is great, which helps a little bit to use it in very easy competitive programs and to not to respect principle dry, like don't repeat yourself. Especially this one is very, and maybe it's prime, and it's really interesting conversation. You can check it because some of functions does not have correct solution, and nobody don't want to implement it, and because people will use it, but it will be a little bit incorrect. Okay, cool. If you think everything what I show is like easy and you can like do it, yeah, I agree with you. And why I use Python? Because compared to C++ developer who can focus mostly on solution, okay, I also create the same solution, but problem that sometimes Python solution will not accept it by time. And for instance, this super very easy problem, which calls Collatz numbers, which generates a sequence of numbers until 1. And there is no, this is NP problem. I hope you know what does it mean. If not, skip it. And in this specific problem, there are like, on contests, I need to solve it less than 1 million or something like it. And I spent like 2 or 3 days just to tweaking. Like the limit was, before I accepted, the limit was 3 seconds. I can't find in internet any solution which, in Python, which accept it. But I have one, I will show you it for you. Please don't submit it. Yeah, you can, why not? And yeah, I will show you it very quickly. I'm not sure how quick it can be, but I will try. I don't like live demos. Yeah, I just need to show it. Yeah, this is like, this part, not interesting, it's just read lines and do validations because one number can less or greater. And like, you can see what I need to do to fit into it. I use a lot. That's why you can improve your skills on your daily job. Because usually what I do on my daily job, improve some code from another developers, usually data scientists. And usually they think they're smarter than me, and I agree, but it does not work on production. That's why, yeah. And you can see I use LRU cache, it's just a huge dictionary, and I pre-cache because, as you can see, each time when you use, you need to calculate next number, you do the same job because the function, the sequence of Collatz is like this, and you need to repeat recursion. That's why I just pre-cache it, and I play a lot with some bit operations. And but by the way, did you catch the idea why I do n and 1? Just interesting. What does it mean? Yes, correct. Yeah. and it was one of the solutions which work. I mean, and I play around with performance optimizer and with like timing, etc. I replaced using different Python instructions, and for instance, I replace 3 times plus instead of product, which faster, etc., etc. It's interesting process, and the idea to not solve as much as I can. The idea is to send solution in Python which accept it, and I invite you to do the same and enjoy it. That's why I created Telegram channel. I don't know, do you like it or not? You can join. I post some articles in Telegram channel, in my blog also. You can, yeah. And thank you for your attention. Questions? I will leave it here.
Thank you. You can read the questions there or behind you.
Oh, cool. No, I like this. And I should read it. How often do you think the in-time complexity manner on daily programming basis? Interesting question. It depends how many, like how big size of your problem which you try to solve. For instance, if you do, I don't know, if you work with application where like requests per second 3 or less, and tables in database 100,000, and you not care about it. You just write a code, you parse file with 5 lines, and you can do whatever you want in Python. But if you project like mine, where we have hundreds of billions records and terabytes of data, it's matter. As is some algorithms or approaches that work in C++ but are not feasible in Python in regards to language speed. Usually, if problem has solution, it can be written in Python and it works well and no issues with speed. But I show you interesting problem where it's matter. But it's matter because the size of the problem is huge and it's not feasible in Python. But yeah, it depends. Do you use PyPy at competition? No, I don't. I use Python and Go. It's like, yeah, and sometimes I use C when I not succeed. I mean, there are a couple problems which I can't submit in Python. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Can we give a nice round of applause for?
Hi everybody. I really enjoy time in PyCon Balkan, and I really enjoy audience who watch my talk today about competitive programming, and I hope you soon, and I hope I will see you next year.